People have lots of questions about the cuts and the impact of the cuts the government is making on their communities and on our economy and jobs. People have questions about tuition fees and the impact of the Brown proposals this week, and us showing that there is a different way of dealing with those issues. And also, I think people have a question about our party and how our party wins people's trust back. And I know it's a long journey for us to secure and win people's trust. We're starting out on that journey, but I'm committed to doing that and to listening to people, including readers of The Star, to hear their concerns and how we need to be reflecting them. Why did I propose a graduate tax? Not because I sort of, have a thing for one particular mechanism or another, but because of a number of principles that I have. First of all, the principle of fairness, which is that the amount you pay for higher education should in some way be related to your ability to pay. I.e., if you pay more, if you earn more, you should contribute more. That's my first principle. And my second principle, which is a real worry of mine, and I say this particularly being nearby to my constituency, is that I don't want people put off going to particular universities because they're charging more than other universities. So and thirdly, you need a sustainable funding base for higher education. So they're the sort of three principles that I would apply. My worry about the Brown review is it sort of fails the three principles.
Have you managed to persuade Alan Johnson that graduate tax is a good idea?
He has become Jeremy Paxman, you see. I told you. For some people, it doesn't seem, logical to be paying people child benefit right at the top. But look, I'm not saying every benefit should be universal, because you clearly need some benefits, as you said, targeted at those most in need. But I think that foundation is quite an important foundation.
Should all of the benefits that are currently universal remain universal, in your opinion?
Well, pretty much, I think. I mean,
all of them?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not in favour of testing the benefits that are out there. We lost the general election, and there's no point in Labour somehow blaming the electorate for that. We must blame ourselves and understand the reasons that we lost. We've got to be a constructive opposition, opposing where it's right to oppose, but supporting the government when they're doing the right thing. It's a sort of funny thing, this, but I think if one of my predecessors, Keir Hardie or someone, came back to look at Britain today, he would say Britain was totally different, obviously, from when he was around. I fear that he might say a Labour Party branch meeting doesn't look that different. I don't mean in terms of the same people being there. We've also got to reach out and listen to people as we construct our alternative plan for government. That's what I'm committed to doing. I know it's a long task, I know it's a hard task, but that's what I'll be doing in the months ahead. People have to feel they've got a voice in the party. And I've said that Young Labour should be a more autonomous organisation and able to challenge the old fuddy-duddies like me on policy and on other things. I think it's actually giving people a voice. I think we were more exposed than some other countries to the financial crash because we didn't build that broader industrial base. So I'm afraid I don't buy the argument that it was a case of overspending. I do buy the argument that we will have to make some cuts, and we would have to make some cuts even if we were in government, and we can't pretend otherwise. But I think that the scale of what we are talking about is very different, as we'll say in the next few days, from what the government is talking about. And frankly, I do go back to this point that it's not responsible to make cuts in such a way that sows the seeds of a bad economic future for your country. And I think, that's why the Forgemasters decision, I think, okay, we do have to make some cuts, but hang on a minute, if this is going to create jobs and growth in the future and have people paying taxes and not on unemployment benefit, and it was a loan, why would you not do that? Well, Forgemasters is a fantastic company, and it remains a fantastic company despite not receiving that loan. But it's a missed opportunity. It's a massive missed opportunity for Sheffield and for Britain. If we can get money to Forgemasters, and I haven't given up that there'll be some way that they can get money for the future, then we can create jobs at the centre of the nuclear supply chain. It's good for our energy policy, and it's good for our economy as a whole, and that's what I'll be seeking to do. The irony is, because I remember being in my department for some months beforehand, really badgering people about the Forgemasters loan, and it was actually because of the hoops we had to jump through on value for money. Paul is nodding because I think he will remember being involved in this. It was it was because the the business department had a whole set of systems in place to say, we can't approve this loan unless it's proved to be value for money. We've got to have outside experts scrutinise it and all of that. So I wish we got it signed off quicker, but that was one of those things.
I gained interest in Labour because of the election, the leadership election campaign. And I thought Ed always sounded a bit interesting. Today he kind of reaffirmed that, because he didn't it wasn't wishy-washy politics. He talked about failures with the economic principles they had before, which is one of the biggest principles for me, and the fact that he would change that, it would, there would be more involvement from lower levels of the party and stuff.
It seems as though you've already been won over, but has he won you over a little bit more today?
Yes, I think it's kind of I did join the Labour Party about 2 days ago, but I think it's kind of set it in stone, as it were.
I say to you on that question, I did what I thought was right as leader, which was to say on Iraq, we've got to draw a line and we've got to admit that we got it wrong.
Yeah, but yeah, it gets my fault. Yeah, it gets my fault. Unless he does something that doesn't get my fault. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, yeah.
Simon Bauer, Pollard's Tea and Coffee, Managing Director, and Ed Miliband's agreed to come and do a day's work.
So Simon, on your question, well, look, I'm really interested by what you say, and I'll make you an offer, which is to come and spend some time with you in your business, if you'll have me. Because what I'd really like to do is to sort of understand it from your end.
I came in with a question, he didn't answer it, but he didn't answer it for a very good reason, because he wanted to come and understand it, and I welcome that. Overall, I was quite impressed, because he came over very well. He was confident, charismatic. He didn't come over as pompous or remote. That's an interesting new venture for Labour.
He didn't want my leadership to become a psychodrama with him. And he felt, and I think in a way the Tuesday thing with Harriet sort of rather probably confirmed his view a bit. That was what people would have started to say, well, there are splits when there weren't. He would have sneezed in a particular way, and people would have said it was a disloyal sneeze. I mean, so I think I sort of understand why he did it, but as well as my relationship with him as my brother, I do always say my door is open to him, because I think he's got enormous talent, and I hope he'll come back in the future.
And your relationship now?
Our relationship is very good. I mean, I know people will think it's been difficult, and it has been difficult, but actually we have a very strong bond with each other, and I spoke to him a couple of days ago after our parliamentary Labour Party meeting, so, we're fine. Well, I was obviously disappointed that he decided not to stay in the shadow cabinet, but I fully understood the reasons for his decision, because he wanted to give me space to lead the party, and he wanted to think about what he was going to do in the future. And I think that's the right decision for him. And the most important thing to me was that he made the right decision for him and his family. And I think that's what he's done.
And Ed, just as a final question, is it going to be 5 years before you get the chance to become Prime Minister, or do you think you'll get that soon?
Well, I want us to get back into power as quickly as possible, not for our own sake, but because I really worry about what the coalition is going to do to the country. But obviously, we'll see what happens in the months ahead.